Her Mafia boss invited her to a gala as a joke. Then she walked in wearing a $2 million dress. Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Black Orchid Gala, 9:47 p.m. I am standing at the top of the staircase, and the whole room has forgotten how to breathe. I can feel it, that collective, silent inhale. The way a room full of wolves goes still when something enters that doesn't belong. Not because it's weak, because it's wrong. Because the diamonds at my throat catch every chandelier in the Metropolitan and throw the light back like a warning. Let me tell you how I got here. Let me start at the joke. 7 days earlier, Ravello Penthouse, 2:30 a.m. I had been Cassian Ravello's personal assistant for 3 years, 1 month, and 11 days. I know the count because I kept it on a post-it note tucked inside the back cover of my planner. Small, discreet, the way I kept everything about my real purpose. I also knew the exact location of every panic room in the Ravello Tower, the combination to the gun cabinet in the East Hallway, and the names of the 3 accountants who laundered his money through a shell company in Valletta. I knew all of this because I had made it my business to know. But to Don Cassian Ravello, I was simply Sarah, the woman in the charcoal skirt who arrived at 6 a.m., scheduled his murders between his conference calls, and left before he remembered she was human. That night, the rain came down like silver needles against the black glass of the penthouse windows. I was at the Marble Island with my laptop, cross-referencing the guest list for the Black Orchid Gala against the known aliases of the Drago family. Cassian stood at the windows with a whiskey, Marco Ferrante beside him nursing a glass of something Cassian would never drink himself. They were talking about the gala the way generals talk about a battlefield. Who would be there, where the exits were, which alliances had shifted since last spring. I wasn't listening. I was working. That was the performance I'd perfected. The woman in the corner, invisible, efficient, utterly without ambition beyond the next calendar entry. I heard him laugh first. Low. The kind of laugh that doesn't ask permission. You know what, Sarah? I didn't look up. Yes, Don Ravello. You should come with me, to the gala. Marco made a sound, half laugh, half choke. I set my fingers still on the keyboard. 3 years of absolute control kept my face neutral when I finally raised my eyes. Cassian was watching me from across the island, storm cloud eyes lit with the particular amusement of a man who has never once been told no. He was 41 years old, carved from some cold Sicilian stone the time only sharpened. He was also, in that moment, being deliberately, beautifully cruel. To the gala, I repeated. The Black Orchid, Friday. You'd be my... He gestured with his glass. Accompaniment. Think of it as a field trip. Little mouse in a room full of wolves. He tilted his head. I'll even pay for the Uber home when they laugh you out the door. The men around the room grinned. One of them, Tomas, 22, new, still thought cruelty was entertaining, actually laughed out loud. I closed my laptop, stood, smoothed my skirt. I'll be there, I said, soft as a promise, and I walked out. No one called after me. I don't think any of them believed I was serious. I don't think Cassian believed I owned anything that wasn't charcoal gray. He didn't know about the storage unit in Brooklyn. He didn't know about the dress. If you're already hooked, a quick subscribe keeps the darkness coming. I have been waiting 3 years for the right moment to wear it, for the right room, for the right audience. Don Cassian Ravello had just handed me the invitation. Brooklyn, a storage unit on Pacific Street, Tuesday, 7 a.m. I did not go to work the next morning. I sent a brief message to Cassian's encrypted line, personal emergency, delegation handled, back Friday. And then I turned my phone off for the first time in 3 years. The silence was extraordinary, like removing a splinter you'd stopped feeling. The storage unit was climate-controlled, 12 by 14 feet, and held exactly 3 things: a locked gun case, a banker's box of documents, and a garment bag from an atelier in Milan that no longer existed because I had paid the owner to close it the day after my fitting. I unzipped the bag slowly. The dress breathed out at me, black liquid silk, floor-length, with a plunging neckline and a back that stopped somewhere south of decent. The diamonds were sewn directly into the fabric in cascading formations, thousands of them, starting dense at the neckline and thinning down the bodice like a night sky clearing. They were real, every one of them. They had come from Antwerp. 8 years ago, they had been smuggled across the Dutch border in a diplomatic pouch belonging to a man named Giorgio Vesperi, my father. He was dead now, killed by a Ravello cleaner 6 months after the woman those diamonds had been meant to frame was murdered. The diamonds passed through 3 intermediaries, then a private estate sale, then the hands of a Milanese jeweler who owed me a favor for reasons he preferred not to discuss. I had spent 4 of my 6 years of planning acquiring them, one cluster at a time, having them sewn back into the gown they had always been destined for. Isabella Drago had worn this dress to the Black Orchid Gala 8 years ago. She had been photographed in it on the steps of the Metropolitan, her husband Salvatore at her side, those very diamonds catching the flashbulbs. 6 hours later, she was dead, killed in what the papers called a robbery. What the 5 families knew was a hit, ordered by Lorenzo Ravello, executed by my father. Cassian had been 33, freshly returned from Palermo. He hadn't ordered it, but he had inherited it: the war, the blame, the silence. He had buried it the way the Ravellos buried everything: deep, clean, and permanently. The dress, the diamonds, the truth, all of it had been buried with Isabella Drago. Except now, they were going to walk back into the Metropolitan on my body, and every person in that room who had been there 8 years ago was going to see them. I stood in front of the mirror in the storage unit for a long time. I had imagined this moment for years, the satisfaction of it, the precision. I had imagined Salvatore Drago's face the moment recognition hit him. I had imagined Cassian's face, the horror, the understanding, the helplessness as everything his father had buried came walking back up the steps in $2 million of damning silk. What I had not imagined was the way my hands shook, just slightly, as I zipped the bag back closed. I told myself it was anticipation. I spent the next 5 days preparing the rest. The documentation, photographed, encrypted, sent to 3 separate dead drops and 1 attorney in Geneva with instructions to release on my failure to check in. A text to Aria Lombardi, my only real friend in the city, telling her that if she didn't hear from me by Saturday morning, she should open the envelope I'd left in her safe. Aria wrote back immediately, "You're scaring me." I wrote, "Good. Don't come to the gala." She wrote, "You're going to do something insane, aren't you?" I didn't answer. I had a hair appointment at 9 and a spray tan at 11 and a lifetime of cold revenge to finish dressing for. On the 7th morning, Cassian sent a single message to my phone. "You're not coming." Not a question, an assumption. The assumption of a man who had dangled something shiny in front of a mouse and expected the mouse to understand its place. I didn't reply. I was already in the car. The Metropolitan Grand Staircase, 9:47 p.m. Back to the top of the staircase. Back to the moment the room inhaled. I had timed my arrival deliberately. 40 minutes after the gala's official start, when every significant person was already present and the orchestra had moved into its second set. The foyer would be clear. The grand staircase would be unobstructed. Every eye would have nothing else to find. I stood at the top and let them find me. The dress moved like living water. The diamonds caught the chandelier light and fractured it into something violent and beautiful. Hundreds of tiny refractions cutting across the marble and the crystal and the faces below me. My hair was down, waves loose over my bare back, the way it had never been in 3 years of charcoal skirts and low buns. No glasses. I didn't need them. I had 20/20 vision. The glasses had been a prop. I descended. 1 step, 2. The whispers started like a tide coming in, low, urgent, spreading outward from the foot of the staircase. I kept my eyes forward and my face still, the way my father had taught me before I understood what kind of man my father was. Walk like you built the room, Sarah. Even if they set fire to it, walk like it was your idea. I heard the silence hit Salvatore Drago before I saw it reach him. He was 30 feet away, near the east pillar, champagne flute mid-air. Then I watched his arm lower, very slowly, like a man who has seen something from a nightmare step out into the light. His wife had been buried in those diamonds. He had kept that secret for 8 years. He was staring at them now on the body of a woman he didn't recognize, in a room full of witnesses, and the color was leaving his face 1 degree at a time. Good. I had made it to the third to last step when I felt the hand, warm, firm, pressing flat against the small of my bare back like he had always had the right to be there. I turned my head, already knowing. Cassian Ravello materialized from the crowd the way smoke moves. No warning, no sound, simply present. Black tuxedo, no tie, jaw like the edge of something that had never learned how to be soft. His storm cloud eyes moved from my face to the dress, to the diamonds, and back to my face. And I watched the arithmetic happening behind them. Recognition, calculation, and something else I hadn't expected. Fury. But not at the dress, at the room, at every set of eyes currently memorizing me. What the fuck is this? Not a question, said very quietly, very close to my ear, his mouth almost brushing my jaw. The warmth of him hit me before the anger in his voice did, and I had not prepared for warmth. I had prepared for fury. I had prepared for cold command. I had not prepared for the way his hand curved against my spine like it was protecting something. I turned into him, close enough that my lips almost grazed his jaw as I spoke. You invited me, Don Ravello. Did you think I'd come as the help? His eyes dropped to my mouth for exactly 1 second. Then they came back up, and the thing in them was no longer simple fury. The orchestra swelled. Somewhere behind him, I saw Marco Ferrante go still, reading the room the way a man trained for ambushes reads a room. And across the ballroom, Salvatore Drago's hand had moved inside his jacket. She spent 3 years inside his world, building to this moment. Did Serafina go too far? Or not far enough? Drop your verdict below. Cassian didn't give me a chance to say anything else. His hand stayed at my back, and he steered me, smooth, unhurried, in the way of a man who turns exits into entrances, toward the center of the ballroom floor. Smile, he said softly, and don't look at Drago. I know what I'm doing. Then you know he's already sent 2 men toward the east corridor, which means you have approximately 6 minutes before this evening becomes inconvenient. His thumb pressed gently, deliberately, against the curve of my spine. Not a caress, a warning. Where did you get the dress? An atelier in Milan? Those diamonds. I said nothing. He turned me into something that was almost a dance position, one hand at my waist, the other taking mine, the way men who have killed before learn to look civil at formal events. The orchestra obliged. Around us, the ballroom went back to performing its own normalcy, because in this world, showing fear or curiosity got you killed. And everyone here had survived by learning to look away from things that had teeth. "You're wearing Isabella Drago's burial diamonds," Cassian said, very quietly into my hair. Not an accusation, almost wonder. In a room where her husband is currently deciding whether to start a war. He started the war 8 years ago. He just used your father's hands to do it. I felt him go still. Not physically. His body kept moving, kept dancing, kept performing civilian grace with the precision of a man who had learned to separate his surface from his depths. But underneath, beneath the palm at my waist, something went absolutely, terribly still. "Explain that," he said. "Later. Right now, you need to keep Salvatore looking at us instead of the East Corridor." "Why?" "Because my insurance is in the East Corridor, and if his men reach it before I say so, this ends badly for everyone." I kept my voice even, my posture light, my expression the bland, pleasant mask I'd worn for 3 years. "I've had a very good teacher." The pause between us was the length of a held breath. Then, "Marco." He said it without raising his voice, without turning his head. Marco Ferrante, 8 feet away and apparently studying a painting, heard it. I watched his big shoulders shift, almost imperceptibly. And then he was moving, casual, slow, the exact direction of the East Corridor. Cassian looked at me, really looked at me, the way he had never quite looked at Sarah in the charcoal skirt. "Who are you?" he said. Not "who were you?" Present tense. Like he was trying to reconcile the woman in his arms with the ghost who had handed him coffee for 1,000 mornings. "I'm the woman you invited as a joke," I said. "I'm also the woman who has spent 3 years building a case that could collapse the Drago Empire and implicate your family in Isabella's death. Or clear the Ravellos of it entirely, depending on which version gets released." The hand at my waist tightened. "That sounds like leverage." "It is leverage, but I haven't decided what to do with it yet." I met his eyes. "That's the honest answer. I came tonight to watch Salvatore see the diamonds. I came to remind him that the dead don't stay buried. I did not come here to destroy you." The words surprised me as I said them. 3 years ago, they would have been a lie. Tonight, dancing with Cassian Ravello's palm burning against my spine, they were the truest thing I'd said in a very long time. "Why?" he said again, quieter. I didn't answer that one, because the answer was something I hadn't finished understanding yet, and the orchestra was slowing, and across the ballroom, Salvatore Drago was being intercepted by Marco Ferrante with the quiet efficiency of a man removing a landmine from a public square. The immediate danger paused, but Cassian's eyes hadn't left mine, and the pause between us was filled with something that had no name in either of our vocabularies. Something that felt a great deal like the moment before impact. East Corridor, 10:41 p.m. He found a dark corridor between a closed exhibit hall and a service alcove. Cassian Ravello, who knew the Metropolitan the way surgeons know bone, who had certainly used it for purposes the curators would prefer not to know. He drew me in without a word, and I let him, because the ballroom was becoming unsafe, and because, though I would not have admitted it to anyone alive, I wanted to be where he was That admission had been building for 3 years. I had managed it the way you manage a slow leak, constant, small vigilance, always a little cold, never letting it collect into something that could drown you. Tonight, with his hand still warm at the small of my back and my entire plan unraveling into something I no longer had a map for, the vigilance had cracked. The corridor was dim. He turned, and I was already facing him, and the space between us was the exact wrong distance, close enough that I could see the particular gray of his eyes in the low light, far enough that we were still technically separate people. "You said your father," he said. "Vesperi. Giorgio Vesperi." "Yes." He pulled the trigger on Isabella. He said it without making it a question, because Cassian Ravello had spent 20 years learning to say hard things in declarative sentences. "On your father's order." "Yes." His jaw moved. Once. "My father told me the Dragos ordered it themselves. A power play, blame it on the Ravellos, use the grief to justify expansion." He looked at the wall for a moment, then back at me. I believed him. For 8 years, I believed him, because the alternative was that my family murdered an innocent woman and spent a decade pointing at Salvatore Drago's grief to distract from it. "The alternative is the truth," I said. "I have the order documents, encrypted, notarized, and currently in 4 different locations that don't require me to be alive to access. I have the financial trail, the diamonds, the Antwerp transfer, my father's account. I have testimony from 2 men who were present when Lorenzo gave the order." I paused. "I have enough to clear you, Cassian, or enough to bury you. I came here tonight to decide which." The silence was extraordinary. Outside, the gala continued. Music, crystal, the low percussion of a world running on violence and performance. In here, it was just us and the truth I had been carrying for 3 years. He moved first, 1 step forward, and then his hand came up and caught my jaw. Not rough, careful, the way you handle something you've just realized is fragile. His thumb pressed below my cheekbone, and his eyes moved over my face like he was reading it for the first time, finding things he had stored away without knowing their names. "Why not simply send the documents?" he said very quietly. "Why 3 years? Why tonight? Why the dress?" I should have had the answer ready. I had rehearsed this conversation in a dozen versions, but with his thumb against my jaw and the questions sitting between us like an open wound, the rehearsed answers all dissolved. "Because I needed to see whether you were worth clearing," I said, which was true. Because I needed to know whether the man I had been watching for 3 years was his father's extension or his own. Also true. I stopped. The rest of the truth, that somewhere in 3 years of cold strategic proximity, I had built something I had not intended to build, something that had nothing to do with revenge and everything to do with the way he stood between his people and danger without ever making a performance of it. That truth, I swallowed. He heard it anyway. Something shifted in his eyes, and his grip on my jaw didn't tighten. It simply settled, like something deciding to stay. "Sarah." "Don Ravello, don't." His voice was low, rough at the edges. "Not tonight. Not in here." His other hand found the curve of my waist, the same place it had been all evening, but the meaning of it had changed entirely. And then the distance between us closed, not because either of us moved decisively, but because the space had become impossible to maintain. The kiss was not soft, It wasn't the kind of kiss between people who have all the time in the world. It was 3 years compressed into one point of contact. All the mornings I had handed him files without touching his hand. All the nights I had watched him from behind the glass of my own agenda. All the moments where being close to him had required a specific, sustained act of will to remain cold. It broke every one of those moments open at once. When we separated, the corridor was the same. The gala was still happening. Salvatore Drago was still somewhere in the building, rerouting his plans. Nothing had changed, and everything had. "You should know," I said when I trusted my voice, "that I still haven't decided." Cassian looked at me for a long, steady moment. "I know," he said. Then, "Let me earn the answer." Comment below. She came here as a weapon, and now she is losing her grip on the handle. Can you blame her? What would you have done in her place?
We didn't stay for the rest of the gala. Marco handled the exit. Quiet, clean, the kind of departure that looks like a host seeing off a guest, rather than a Don pulling a woman out of a burning building before the accelerant ignited. The car was waiting. The ride was 22 minutes of loaded silence, Cassian's knee touching mine across the back seat, neither of us speaking because we had said more in that corridor than either of us had said to another person in years. In the penthouse, he poured 2 glasses of the whiskey he kept for significant evenings. Not the bottle he offered to guests, but the one in the cabinet behind the false wall, and set one in front of me on the marble island where I had worked 1,000 ordinary mornings. He sat across from me. No jacket now, sleeves rolled, the way I had seen him 100 times after midnight when the performance of the dawn dropped slightly and something raw showed through. "My father," he said without preamble, "was a brilliant man who believed that power was maintained by controlling the story more than controlling the violence." He turned his glass slowly. Isabella Drago was going to give testimony to a federal investigator. She had been turned, quietly, over the course of 6 months. Salvatore didn't know. My father did, because he had a man inside the investigation. He paused. He ordered the hit because it was tactically necessary, not because of the war, not because of the diamonds, because she was a liability, and he used her husband's empire as the weapon, because that way the grief would consume Salvatore for years and keep him distracted. I had known the broad outline of this. I had not heard him say it out loud. There was a difference. "Your father knew," Cassian continued. "Mine needed a man willing to be invisible afterward. Giorgio Vesperi was talented at disappearing, until he wasn't." He looked up. "I didn't know any of this until I was 37, 4 years ago. I found the order documents in my father's safe the week after his funeral. I burned half of them before I understood what I was reading. The other half I kept, because I couldn't unknow it." I set my glass down very carefully. "You already had documentation." "Partial. Enough to understand, not enough to prove without implicating the Ravellos." "Combined with mine." "Combined with yours, it's complete." His eyes were steady on mine. "Full evidence chain. Everything a federal prosecutor would need to reopen the Drago case, establish the real order of events, and put Salvatore away for the crimes he actually committed, without the Ravello name attached to Isabella's death." The room was very quiet. I had spent 6 years building toward this, 3 of them inside his walls. And here he was, 4 years ahead of me, sitting on the other half of my own case. "You didn't release it," I said. "No." "Why?" He picked up his glass again. "Because the Ravellos are not clean. Clearing myself of Isabella's death doesn't erase what this family has done. And because..." He stopped, something moving across his face that I had never seen there before. Discomfort. The particular discomfort of a man who does not say things like this. Because I had no one I trusted to be the other half of it. You need 2 keys to open something this dangerous. You need someone who has nothing to gain from the story being wrong. He looked at me. The words landed without decoration. I need someone whose grief is real. My father had not been a good man. I knew that with a clarity I had worked very hard to achieve. He had followed orders that ended an innocent woman's life. He had died before I understood the shape of what he'd done, and I had spent the years since carrying both the grief and the horror of it, mourning someone who did not deserve clean mourning. But the grief was real. It was the realest thing I owned. Cassian's eyes said he had understood that about me before I ever said a word in that corridor. I picked up my glass and drank. "Tell me what you have," I said. He did. We talked until 4 in the morning, not like a Don and his assistant, not like 2 people navigating the aftermath of a corridor kiss, like 2 people who had been carrying the same weight from opposite sides of the same wall, and had finally, accidentally, found the door. Salvatore Drago was not a patient man. He had become powerful by being fast, faster than his rivals, faster than the law, faster than grief. His wife had been buried, and he had rebuilt himself around the absence of her the way some men rebuild around a wound, by making sure everything they touched afterward carried a scar. He had recognized the dress. I had known he would. What I had underestimated was how quickly the recognition would become action. By Saturday morning, less than 12 hours after the gala, Marco was on the phone with 3 of our street captains reporting the same thing. Drago cars circling. Not subtle, not meant to be. The message was the visibility itself. We see you. We're coming. I was in Cassian's penthouse when the calls came in, sitting at the kitchen island with his half of the documentation spread across the marble between us. Physical copies, because some things you don't trust to servers. He took the calls one by one, and I watched the geography of his face change with each one. Not fear. Cassian Ravello did not appear to experience fear in any conventional sense. What I watched instead was something colder and more focused. The narrowing of a man who has decided to end something. He's going to move within 48 hours, Marco said on speaker. He doesn't have a choice now. The gala was public. Half the room saw the dress. The other half heard about it by midnight. If he doesn't respond, his captains read it as weakness. He'll come for her first, Cassian said, eyes on mine. She's the easier target. It sends a message without directly challenging me. I had known this was a possibility. I had prepared for it. Then let him come, I said. I have what I need. We can move today. You wanted more time. I wanted a clean handoff. We don't have that option anymore. I was already pulling out my phone, going through the steps I had rehearsed. The secure line to the attorney in Geneva, the confirmation message to the 3 dead drops. The documentation goes to the U.S. Attorney's Office, the lead FBI organized crime unit, and a journalist at the Times who has been sitting on the Drago case for 2 years, waiting for exactly this package. All 3 go simultaneously. There's no way to suppress all 3 at once. Marco was quiet for a moment. Cassian, that's your father's name on half of those documents. My father is dead. Cassian's voice was flat. Salvatore Drago is not. Isabella Drago deserved better than what she got, and her killer has spent 8 years using her grief as a weapon. We're ending it today. The decision had the weight of something that had already been made, as if somewhere between 4 in the morning and now, Cassian had reached a conclusion that didn't require further deliberation. He looked at me with an expression I had not seen in 3 years of watching him, something unguarded and steady, and said, "Do it your way. I'll cover the exits." I should have felt the triumph I had rehearsed for 6 years, the clean satisfaction of a plan arriving at its conclusion. What I felt instead was something that terrified me more than Salvatore Drago and all his cars. I felt safe. Not strategically, not tactically. I felt the kind of safe that comes from standing next to someone who has chosen to be on your side without being asked, without a contract, without leverage. The kind of safe that makes your carefully constructed internal fortifications look suddenly, embarrassingly, like what they always were. Loneliness dressed up as strategy. I made the calls. I sent the files. I confirmed the drops. By Saturday afternoon, the package was in motion, sealed, encrypted, timed to land in 3 separate inboxes simultaneously at midnight if I didn't send the cancellation code. Then I put down my phone and looked at Cassian Ravello, and he looked back at me, and the thing between us had stopped being a question and started being an answer neither of us had the vocabulary for yet. "And now?" he said. "And now we wait," I said. "And you tell me why you kept the assistant who knew where every body was buried instead of making her one of them." The corner of his mouth moved. "Because you never flinched," he said. 3 years. Not once." He paused. "And because the morning I hired you, you corrected my security chief's threat assessment in the margin of a document with a red pen and left it on his desk. I kept the document. I still have it." I stared at him. "That was day 3. "I know," he said. "I'd already decided by then." He kept the annotated threat assessment for 3 years. What do you think? Was Cassian always falling, or did he not know until the gala? Tell us.
The city below the penthouse had no idea. It never does. That's the thing about New York. The skyline looks the same whether the wars happening inside it are over bodies or balance sheets or the kind of quiet reckoning that 2 people carry into a kitchen at midnight. The Drago response came at 9 p.m. Not violence, something worse. An attorney filing emergency injunctions in 3 jurisdictions, claiming the documents were fabricated, the chain of custody broken, the source compromised. Salvatore had anticipated this possibility, not the timing maybe, but the shape of it. He had lawyers on retainer for exactly this scenario. Cassian read the filing on his phone, set it down. He's buying time. 48 hours at most, I said. The journalist doesn't need a chain of custody. She's going public at midnight regardless. Once it's in print, the injunctions are moot. The U.S. attorney will have to act publicly. I had designed the package to survive exactly this kind of interference. The legal obstruction was anticipated. The court of public opinion was faster and less suppressible than any injunction. What does Salvatore do when the story breaks? He has 2 options: deny and litigate, which means years of proceedings and a very public accounting of his finances. Or negotiate, which means cooperating with the federal investigation in exchange for leniency on the lesser charges. I paused. He's 63. His health is not excellent. I think he'll negotiate. Cassian absorbed this, and the Ravello name in the documents. Lorenzo Ravello, deceased, acting unilaterally in a decision that the current Don was not party to and actively opposed upon discovery. I held his gaze. That's the version I prepared. It's accurate, and it's the version all 3 recipients have. He was quiet for a moment. Outside, a siren moved through the distance and faded. You protected the family, he said, not accusing,
Not grateful exactly. Something more careful than gratitude, like a man turning an unexpected object over in his hands, trying to understand its weight. "I protected the truth," I said. "The truth happens to require distinguishing between a dead man's sins and a living one's." I looked at my hands. "Your father was guilty. You're not. Those are separate facts. I wasn't going to collapse them into one." He reached across the marble and put his hand over mine. Just that. No words yet. The gesture was not romantic, or not only. It was the gesture of a man acknowledging a debt that isn't financial, a kindness that isn't comfortable, a choice that cost something. We stayed like that for a while. The city hummed below us. The clock moved toward midnight. Later, much later, when the penthouse was dark and the city had gone to whatever rest the city manages, Cassian said my name in the quiet the way no one had ever said it. Not the clipped professional Sarah, not the deliberately lazy little mouse, but the full thing, the name my mother had chosen, said slowly, like he was learning its shape. Serafina. I turned toward him in the dark. What happened between us then was not about power or strategy, or the careful negotiation of two people who have been circling each other for years. It was quieter than that, and slower, and it required both of us to set down the armor we had each spent considerable effort constructing. It was the kind of intimacy that only exists between people who have seen each other's damage and chosen to stay in the room. Afterward, he lay very still, one arm across my waist, his breathing gradually slowing into sleep. I stayed awake for a while, old habit, old vigilance, watching the city light move against the ceiling. I had spent 3 years planning an ending. I had not once planned a morning after. For the first time in 6 years, I did not know what came next, and the not knowing did not feel like danger. It felt like the first honest thing I'd experienced in a very long time. At midnight, my phone lit up with 3 simultaneous notifications. Message delivered, message delivered, message delivered. The package had landed. Salvatore Drago's world was already unraveling, and he didn't know it yet. I set the phone face down and closed my eyes. 3 weeks later. The New York Times story ran 1,700 words above the fold with the headline, "Federal Investigation Reopened in 2017 Murder of Isabella Drago. Documents implicate crime figure Salvatore Drago in wife's death." The journalist, a woman who had been sitting on pieces of this story for 2 years with insufficient evidence, wrote it with the controlled precision of someone who has waited a long time for the locked door to open. I read it at Cassian's kitchen island, in one of his shirts, with coffee, while the city woke up. He read it beside me, in silence, and when he finished, he set the tablet down and said nothing for a long moment. Then, "Isabella deserved better." "Yes," I said. "She did." That was the whole of it. Some truths don't require elaboration. Salvatore Drago was arrested on a Tuesday, 3 weeks and 2 days after the gala. The federal charges were 18 counts, including conspiracy to commit murder, obstruction of justice, and racketeering, which was almost elegant in its simplicity, given what the man had actually done. His attorneys attempted to suppress the documentary evidence for 9 days before the second and third sources made suppression impossible. He did not negotiate. He denied everything, in the time-honored tradition of men who have never learned that the walls have ears and the dead don't stay silent. The trial, when it came, would take years, but the outcome had a specific weight to it already, the weight of things that are finished, even before the formalities conclude. The Drago Empire did not collapse overnight. These things never do. But the captains started looking for new alignments, and the loyalties that had been built on Salvatore's control of information, the lie of Isabella's murder, the manufactured grief, Those structures began to crumble the moment the truth became public record. The Ravellos absorbed the fallout with the practiced composure of a family that had weathered worse. There was scrutiny. There is always scrutiny. And there were journalists who tried to pull on the Lorenzo thread and find something still living. Marco Ferrante handled those calls with a finesse that was almost artistic. Cassian handled them by being, frustratingly, exactly what he appeared: a man who had discovered his father's crime, documented it, and ultimately ensured that the right people had the right information at the right time. It was not a narrative that invited simple villainous framing, and the journalists who tried found themselves looking at a wall of legal precision and moving on to easier targets. My resignation letter was the shortest document I had ever written for the Ravello organization. 6 words. Effective immediately. Thank you for everything. I left it on the kitchen island on a Monday morning with a cup of coffee I'd made for him, the way I had done 1,000 other mornings. He found me in the elevator. Not running, not dramatic. He simply stepped in, the doors closed, and he looked at the letter in his hand and then at me. "You don't have to go," he said. "I know." I pressed the button for the lobby. "That's why I'm going. I want to leave because I want to, not because I have to. I want to choose what comes next from the outside of this building, not the inside." I paused. I've been inside for 3 years. I want to know what I am out there. He was quiet for a moment. The elevator descended. "That's a reasonable request," he said. "I thought so." "I would like, when you've established what you are out there, to have dinner with you. Not a working dinner, not a gala." He glanced at me, and the corner of his mouth moved in the way I had cataloged without realizing I was cataloging it. The almost smile, the real one, the one that didn't appear for rooms full of people. A table, food, without anyone present who has ever carried a weapon. That's going to significantly limit your social options. I'm aware. The elevator reached the lobby. The doors opened. I stepped out and I turned, and Cassian Ravello was standing there in his doorway. The man who had signed death warrants and kept a 3-year-old threat assessment in his desk drawer and said my name in the dark like it was something worth learning. "Saturday," I said. 7 o'clock. Somewhere that doesn't know either of our names. He nodded once, the way he agreed to things he had already decided. The doors closed. I walked out into the New York morning, late March, the first real warmth after a long winter. Light on the glass towers, people moving in the ordinary, hurried patterns of people who are not carrying revenge in their handbags. I stood on the pavement for a moment with my face up, eyes closed. 6 years, 2 families, 1 dead woman who deserved justice, a joke about a gala, a dress that cost $2 million and changed everything. I had come into Cassian Ravello's world with a weapon and left with something I had no name for yet. Something quieter and stranger and considerably more terrifying than revenge. Something that looked, if I was being careful and precise about it, like the beginning of a life I had not thought to plan. That war's all right. I had been very good at improvising. She walked in wearing a $2 million dress and walked out wearing something far more dangerous. What did you think of Serafina's ending? Was the choice she made worth everything she sacrificed to get there? And there she is, loves. Serafina Vesperi, who came into this story as a ghost haunting her own revenge, and left it as a woman choosing, for the very first time, what she actually wanted. Not the girl in the charcoal skirt, not the weapon dressed in diamonds, just Sarah, walking into a March morning with the warmth on her face and a dinner reservation for Saturday, and all the time in the world to figure out who she is on the other side of the fire she set. And Cassian Ravello, the man who invited her as a joke and discovered, in the space of a single evening, that the most dangerous thing in any room was not the guns or the grudges or the men who carried both. It was the woman he had underestimated, the woman who had been quietly, methodically choosing not to destroy him, and choosing, in the end, to stay. That is the thing about shadows. They look like absence, but they require light. If this story held you, if you felt every beat of that gala staircase, every second of that corridor, you know what to do, darling. Subscribe, ring the bell. Leave a comment telling me which moment broke you open. Was it the dress? The dead drops? The 6 words on the kitchen island? Or was it that elevator and the almost smile and Saturday, 7 o'clock, somewhere that doesn't know either of our names? Because I am already writing the next story, and it is going to be darker, sharper, and more devastating than this one. Stay close. The night is never really over.